I think for the last like 3 years, all the way up to now, I've just thought about Paris. If you've got a goal, like if there's something you want to do, you gotta believe in it wholeheartedly. You can eat well, train well. If you aren't sleeping well, it's just not sustainable. You know, I want every day to be the best it can be, so I can be the most productive every single day. You know, rather than being great twice a week. When I found a sport where there was a direct correlation with like putting in work, getting this adrenaline rush and having a fun time, I just fell in love with it straight away. I'm not scared of getting hurt. I'm scared of that.
If you're enjoying this podcast, can I ask you to do one thing for me? That is to hit the subscribe button. On average, we have just 10% of people who listen to this podcast actually subscribe to it. If you subscribe to it, not only will you be the first person to be notified as soon as any brand new content goes live, it also means that we can go out and get even better guests for the show for you to enjoy. So just take 15 seconds of your time just to hit that subscribe button, and I'll be eternally grateful. Thank you very much.
It's interesting. I was chatting to Chris Billum-Smith. He became World Cruiserweight Champion last year, like a year ago. And he's just like had his first defence at Crystal Palace, like won that. And he was saying to him, like, sleeping is a superpower. And he goes, like, I literally just, if I can build my foundation and it starts with the sleep, everything else I can kind of optimise. And he's like going, you know, we've now got like a young baby. And he goes, when I knew the fight was coming up and I had camp, but I was coming home, and he's going, I even went to the extent of getting an Airbnb and sleeping away from home, away from like the baby waking up to like maximise my sleep. But can you relate to that?
Yeah, like 100%. And it was something that like I was almost in denial about that having such a big effect until I started taking it more seriously and focus on it. It's like you can eat well, train well. If you aren't sleeping well, it's just not sustainable. Like now, I've always struggled with like sleeping, having a good routine, having a good like schedule of sleep where it's like I'm set bed this time, set waking up. You know what I mean? I'm like, my girlfriend works a normal job, so she's like her body clock's great. You know what I mean? And like it was a long time before like we were on the same kind of body clock where like I'm actually settling for bed at a regular time, and since doing that, it's like I was saying, it's just more sustainable. Like I know every day I'm gonna feel good. It's not that I'm going to have one or two great nights sleep in the week where I'm like, oh, I feel great today. Yeah. Not thinking about why. I think that was the thing, is like, I didn't really put two and two together where it's like, oh, I had a good night's sleep. I had a good day training. Yeah. So now trying to, you know, I want every day to be the best it can be, so I can be the most productive every single day, you know, rather than being great twice a week.
And do you think like, before, like not sleeping so well, was any of that to do with travel and stuff like that? Because it does disrupt.
I think a little bit. I think it was more just like my like bedtime, like discipline. Like so easy to just put another episode of TV on. It was so easy to like, and I think as well I was doing a lot of like social media in the evenings. So it's not even like I'm relaxing on my phone. I felt like I was like working on my phone. So and it's hard to like switch off instantly after that. Yeah. So just dialing everything back a little bit, like, is the best, and just committing to it as well. Is like, I used to, like, if I didn't feel absolutely shattered, I wasn't gonna head to bed. Like, that was it. And it's like learning to be like, I am tired. My eyes aren't closing, but if I go and hit the pillow now, I'll fall asleep.
Yeah, I've always envied those people who can literally sleep anywhere, whether you're like on a plane, a train. I even remember my best mate falling asleep in a nightclub in Ibiza before, and you're like, how can you do that?
Yeah. Oh mate, I'm one of them. Like, I'll never touch the pillow and fall straight asleep. Girlfriend is the opposite. Yeah. Head touches the pillow, she's out. And it's like, it's almost frustrating when you're lying next to someone. Or if I'm sharing a hotel room with one of the lads I'm away competing with, and I'm like, I hear them heavy breathing straight away, and I'm like, oh, he's got one up on me.
Gutted. Yeah, exactly.
You know, he's sleeping already. Like,
yeah. So you talked about like the physical side of things. Tell me a little bit about mental preparation, because I know you worked with like Andy Murray's coach as well.
Yeah. So Rich Hampstead for British Cycling has been amazing. Like, I think it's something I never even would have looked at, I think, if I hadn't been with British Cycling. And a lot of it is just like, and he'd tell you as well, is really simple things that you just don't think about. Like, you put all this work in physically, it's like, but you haven't got the same mental toughness it's pointless. And it's like, as well as that, it's like the biggest thing for me is I always talk about having prepped the best I can. So I've prepped physically, I've learned the tricks, I've done everything. I haven't prepped mentally, and having that has made a huge difference for me. Like, just understanding yourself more than anything. I think, like, all right, I feel like this. Why do I feel like that? How can I fix that? And yeah, that's been massive for me.
Does he give you like different, almost like templates like that when you start going through different steps to break things down? Or...
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Okay.
Like if we go into a competition, like, all right, you've got your process you do before you ride. Now, what's your mental process before you ride? What mindset do you want to be in? And like a big one for me was, you get announced to a competition. You know, the commentator, next up, Kieran Reilly, and the crowd makes all this noise. Your heart rate spikes, your adrenaline spike, and I'd be like waving, getting noise from the crowd, drop in with my heart rate at 90%.
Yeah,
like it's just not smart in a really physically demanding sport. And like, I would have never thought about that until he mentioned it. Like, all right, you're dropping in and you're already gassed. Like, let's use the adrenaline. Like, obviously everyone thrives with that.
Yeah.
But let's also keep it under control. So we're not going because the crowd want you to go. We're going when you're ready to go.
Yeah. I heard something recently on, I think it was on Chris Evans' Virgin Radio show, and again, I've forgotten the name of the person he was chatting to, but it was a tennis coach, and he had analysed the points in between points, so the time in between points, where you think most coaches are going to break down what you're doing when you're getting your first serve in, your second serve in, your volley, your forehand smash, whatever. He broke down what the most successful players were doing in between the points, and it was like Serena Williams will bounce the ball this number of times if she got a first serve, if you didn't get a first serve in. And it was like Djokovic would do it this many times. And it was basically, what they worked out was they were getting their heart rate back down, as you said, to a level where they could then, they were recharging themselves. They were taking the maximum time in between points. Whereas other players, like a Kyrgios or something, was literally like rushing to the next point because he was totally fired up. And then you keep compounding the errors that they're making. I find it's fascinating, man.
Adrenaline's like an amazing thing, but like it can also do you over if you don't use it properly. Like, especially in any physically demanding sport, like it's great to have your heart racing. You feel more powerful than ever.
Yeah.
But also, the second that adrenaline wears off and your heart rate's at 180, you feel it a lot quicker, you know?
Interesting. And is other stuff that he's covered with you, Rich, has that been like visualizing stuff as well? Do you actually like go through, like, for example, imagining what it's like to win a gold medal at the Olympics?
Not a massive part of it being that, but like it's definitely something we talk about because you can't like go. It's not a great idea to go into these scenarios constantly second guessing. Like at this Olympic qualifier, there was a lot of talk of like being in the moment and being present, because if you're thinking ahead, you aren't thinking about what you actually need to do right now. Like, it's really easy to think about what if I am going, what if I mess up here and don't qualify, and having all these thoughts racing in your head, you can't focus on the job that needs to be done. And so just like understand all that noise was like a huge thing for me. And I think like we talk a lot just about like, I feel like it's almost like him mirroring back your own thoughts. So if I'll say something, and when you're thinking you can't get out of your own head, it's hard to figure out why you're thinking that. If someone says it back to you out loud, puts it out in the air, it's just easier to like understand, like, oh, like when he says it like that, what me thinking like that is dumb, or me thinking that doesn't make any sense. And sometimes that's all you need to hear. And just having a voice like that's been huge for me.
And would your advice be to anybody else who's maybe struggling with the mental side of it to get help in that aspect, rather than just kind of plough that lonely furrow alone and just trying to battle it yourself?
Yeah, 100%. And it's like if you haven't got the opportunity to go and work with a sports psychologist, like we've all got smartphones now. Like look at even just, I bet now, like if people out there were to look up or like read on it, like there's so many small little tips and tricks. Like a lot of what Rich helps us with is super simple, like really, really simple. But you're so caught up in the deep thoughts, you know what I mean, about like certain events or competing or anything like that you just bypass. You don't even see these little tweaks that you could make. And it's like usually if you haven't got access to it, like it's easy enough now in this day and age. Have a look it up. Look at what other athletes are thinking. Look what other athletes are doing to help themselves.
Yeah.
And these small little tips and tricks can make like huge differences.